Hello and welcome to the latest edition of 32 Jackpot Marketing Secrets with history's greatest and craziest persuaders with David Lowenthal. I am David Lowenthal, and today we're going to be talking about how you can use the Al Capone school of legal and ethical branding to make yourself unforgettable in the minds of your customers and prospects. Now, when I say Al Capone, what do most people think of? They think of the most notorious gangster in American, if not world history. It's hard to think of another gangster or organized criminal who made more headlines than Al Capone, and that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today. But first, I want to talk about a little aspect in marketing history that was developed by really the world's first great direct response marketer named Claude Hopkins. Now, if you know anything about history or direct response marketing, you've heard of Claude Hopkins. Claude Hopkins is most well known in copywriting circles for creating the set of advertisements advertising Schlitz Beer, now Schlitz malt liquor, other types of Schlitz products. Now, Schlitz was not a great. I don't think it was particularly well known or an important or beer that was really differentiated from all the other ones. I remember drinking malt liquor with my friends in high school. It just tasted terrible, but it was cheap, and I can't imagine that it was much different then. So Claude Hopkins probably really had a tough project on his hands. Now, he created this ad campaign for Schlitz, and it was amazing. It did so well. It really put Schlitz on the map in the United States, mostly from the genius of his advertisements. But what did Claude Hopkins do? He wasn't talking about the great taste or the great flavor or the great aromas or anything about Schlitz. What he did was something brilliant, because back in those days, nobody really knew how beer and alcohol generally was produced. Nobody knew about it. They knew they liked it, they knew it tasted great, but they didn't know about the taste, or excuse me, they didn't know anything else about it. And so what Claude Hopkins did in his research is he discovered that the more he talked about kind of the methodology, the unique mechanism, to use a Eugene Schwartz quote about how you make your unique selling proposition work, the unique mechanism of the unique selling proposition was how Schlitz actually made beer. Now, the trick is, Schlitz wasn't doing anything differently when they were making beer. They were using the same processes as everybody else. It was very advanced, but it was not out of the ordinary. And the only thing that Claude Hopkins did was he took that process and made it front and center. He made the unique mechanism, almost the unique selling proposition of his advertisements. Well, everybody else was just talking about how great the beer tasted and how much it refreshed and satisfied them, or how cheap it was, and things which were all more or less true, but were not that interesting and did not really set them apart. Claude Hopkins, his ads for Schlitz did set them apart. Now that brings me to Al Capone. So which also funny enough ties into alcohol, ties into alcohol prohibition. So during the time of Al Capone, in the 20s and early 30s, there was mass violence because of prohibition. Much like the drug war has caused mass violence now, the war on alcohol caused mass violence then. And during that period, there were hundreds of notorious gangsters, but yet we don't remember any of their names now. But we do remember one. Everybody in the United States, or even outside the United States, remembers one gangster, and his name is Al Capone. Now, why is that? Because Al Capone was not a particularly remarkable gangster. He was vicious, but was he more vicious than the average gangster? Was he more cunning or ruthless? I don't think so. I think he was pretty much at the medium. But why we remember his name is because he was such a showboat. He was the first one to bring celebrity and public relations to the business of organized crime in ways that other gangsters did not do. For instance, I watched Ken Burns' great documentary on prohibition, and they have a significant scene where they talk about Al Capone. And they said that, you know, he would go to Christmas parades, and he would play Santa Claus at kids' schools. You know, people would run after his limousine. He would give away turkeys in the street. He would give away free hats to women. He would do any number of things to be recognized. He even went to, you know, he would go out to the field at baseball games, maybe even throw out the first pitch. He had his whole business set up at a hotel in downtown Chicago, and that spot was so well known, it was actually an attraction on bus tours that came to Chicago. They'd say, "Oh, there's Al Capone's office," and everybody would, you know, ooh and ah, and, you know, be so impressed by that. Al Capone didn't really do anything different, and so, you know, much like Schlitz didn't do anything, or Claude Hopkins for Schlitz didn't do anything different, Al Capone himself did not do anything different. And so that's something that you can take in your business. Is you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to have the best widget out there, because a lot of things that your market is doing, they're not necessarily advertising. And if you're just the first to advertise it, to show your customers how something works, or just something mundane that maybe your competitors take for granted, but their customers and your customers have never heard of it before. So use that public relations, use that marketing, you know, use those techniques to bring out your business or your nonprofit. Because, you know, in many ways, the simplest way is the best way. The simplest thing is the best thing. We get so wrapped up in the cult of entrepreneurship that you have to invent some great new wonderful thing all the time, and that's just not the case. You have many unused resources at your disposal that you're probably not using, and so this whole video is just meant for you to get you to look at some of those underappreciated resources and maybe make them more front and center with your marketing, and you could be having much better results. You know, it's up to you. So take that as you may, and good luck. And tune in next time for the next video. Be sure, if you want to hear more videos like this, sign up at my personal newsletter, davidlowenthal.substack.com. The link will be in the description. So thanks for watching, and tune in next time.